Sherry Shiva, Dr. Paniker, Dr. Gore, for giving us the perfect segue to our presentation and research. My name is Dr. Priscilla Harrison, and my colleague, Dr. Iris Solomon, is here, and we will be presenting our research on entrepreneurship, a case study for entrepreneurial zones, or E-zones, and its replication in vulnerable communities. Excuse me. So I'd like to start off with the introduction. Come on, there you go. With the introduction slide. So we will be talking about what is entrepreneurship, what are vulnerable communities, what are the entrepreneurial zones or E-zones in short, the introduction and background of the founder of the E-zone concept, Dr. Dale Caldwell, the impact and challenges of vulnerable communities and the pandemic, the case for the creation of the entrepreneurial zones or E-zones. And I'll also be going on and reviewing some of the snippets that we conducted with an interview with Dr. Caldwell, and then finally we'll conclude the presentation. So, excuse me. So I'm going to start off by answering this question, which is, what is entrepreneurship? So the term first was began with the French economist, he's not a doctor, he's the French economist Jean Baptiste, who in the early 19th century described an entrepreneur as someone, and this is quote, direct quote, shifts the economic resources out of an area of lower and into an area of higher productivity and greater yield, which basically encompasses the concept of value creation. So the debate of entrepreneurship is growing, as we have all seen here in this arena, and it's also attracting increased attention from many sectors. So the term itself shows up, of course, frequently in media, and of course, it's referenced by several public officials, and it's becoming a very common term that's used in a lot of the academic and university campuses. And it basically informs the strategy of several prominent social sector organizations. Next, I want to define what are vulnerable communities. According to the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, the U.S. Federal Agency Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services under the Department of Health and Human Services, it defines the underserved and vulnerable population as population that faces health, financial, educational, and or housing disparities. So let's go on and talk about what are entrepreneurial zones or E-zones in short. Basically, it was a spin-off from the Tax Cuts and Job Act that was passed by Congress in 2017, and also the entrepreneurial zones. So basically the Tax Cuts and the Jobs Act, which was passed, contains a unique economic development and tax incentives that are called the opportunity zones. Sorry about that. And basically this program was designed to encourage long-term private capital investments in low-income communities in the United States. And so the main purpose of this tax incentive was to spur economic development and job creation in a lot of the distressed communities by providing them tax incentives to the investors themselves. But this particular Congress Act did not address investments in the poor communities. Its main investment was in real estate assets. So there's a big gap that this Tax Cut Act had exposed. And this basically spurred Dr. Dale Caldwell to come up with the term entrepreneurial zone. And it basically states that the federal and state entrepreneurial zone legislation be created to ensure that a significant amount of the money that's invested in the opportunity zones be focused on increasing the number of jobs and the business tax revenue for municipalities and big cities in the United States. So the establishment of the entrepreneurial zone basically ensures that the opportunities and the investments in the opportunity zones will be more impactful in the lower income and municipality communities where the job opportunities and the underserved communities exist. So some of the incentives, of course, for the creation of the entrepreneurial e-zones basically stems from the percentage of households in the municipalities in the United States that don't earn sufficient income to pay their basic bills. And this data has shown that the number for the underserved in these communities is pretty high. And there is also, according to Dr. Caldwell, a high poverty level in these communities. And Dr. Caldwell has described poverty levels as households that don't earn enough money to pay their monthly bills to survive and sustain on a daily basis. So when Dr. Caldwell first started his research, he did it in 2019, and he basically focused in the New Jersey, New York area. And his research showed that there were almost 150,000 households in the New York area, and almost 100,000 households in the New Jersey City area that don't have enough money or don't earn enough money to pay the basic bills for sustaining. So tragically, in almost every major urban community in the United States, half or more of those households do not make enough money to pay their monthly bills. So I would like to go next and kind of give a brief introduction to the creator of the e-zone concept. This is Dr. Dale Caldwell. He is a professor. He is also the executive director at the Fairleigh Dickinson University's Rotham Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He is the one that created the Entrepreneurial Zone program to revitalize the Main Street businesses and reduce the systemic poverty that exists in that area. Dr. Caldwell graduated from Princeton University with a BA in economics, the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania with an MBA in finance, and he also received his doctorate from Seton Hall University. Dr. Caldwell is also the author of several books. He's the co-founder of the Black Excellence Alliance Award, the Black Excellence Network. He is also the host of the Entrepreneurial State of Mind and Family Business, which is streamed on the world stage on TV shows. I'd like to next start by addressing the challenges of the vulnerable communities and the pandemic. So of course, as everybody knows, the pandemic had a huge impact on the global stage. It created a lot of unemployment, a lot of poverty, quality of life was greatly reduced. Funding sources for businesses, small business especially, were cut short. Training was limited. There were also several government regulations that were enacted during the pandemic era. So while many of these challenges were affecting a lot of the demographic groups on the national level, the more prolonged impact of the pandemic on the unemployment in the vulnerable underserved communities was extremely high. So this is where we decided to focus on our study by creating the case for by researching the case for the creation of entrepreneurial zone with Dr. Caldwell's concept. So what is the case for the creation of the entrepreneurial zones? Basically, it is to increase the local jobs, decrease poverty, and one of the ways to reduce poverty in a sustainable way is to ensure that businesses are successful in the poor communities, so that they hire local residents and pay them wages that enables the families to pay their household bills every month. Job training is also another aspect which will increase the number of entrepreneurs in the local communities and create the exposure and the knowledge that they need to, to sustain their entrepreneurial endeavors. Also, there are such things as tax incentives that are available out there for the municipalities and the state. And one of the most effective ways, of course, is to create these jobs, to provide the regulations and the relief and the financial support that local entrepreneurs need to help them increase their profitabilities and employment in the local communities. And as Dr. Dale Caldwell has said, every governor and every state legislature should in the United States work together to create jobs through the E-zone initiatives and operate them in the poorer of the communities so that they can create the opportunities to sustain the E-zone credits and initiatives that are available if it's done through the government and regulations. So
Dr. Harrison, a minute to go.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm having too much fun here. So E-zones are unique. And one of the reasons why they're so unique is because even though there are programs out there right now in the United States that focus on enterprises or opportunities or communities, but there's never really been a national program that focuses specifically on helping the little people, the individuals who are the entrepreneurs in the poorer of the communities in very innovative ways. So I'm not going to go through the snippets that I wanted to go through because I'm running out of time, but I'd like to go ahead and conclude my presentation by saying that the replication for the E-zone can address the need to increase jobs in underserved and the vulnerable communities, and also have a handshake deal with local government officials. And this basically will create the incentives to help those small businesses succeed. So the development of an entrepreneurial zone program can be considered as an attempt to revitalize just the mainstream businesses and reduce systemic poverty levels that are out there. So as Dr. Caldwell has said, the only sustainable way to increase jobs for the underserved or the vulnerable communities is for the state and local government to create the E-zones and provide the incentives necessary to help these businesses succeed, and also create the jobs that are needed to help the income levels for this underserved community and help them go past the unemployment and the poverty levels that they face on a daily basis. So in conclusion, we just like to pass it that our research that the success and the replication of the E-zone businesses will not only increase employment, but it will also reduce the poverty and the cost of social programs that exist right now that are a huge burden to our community society. So appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our research.